Okay, so here's the 4.2 practice 2. This is for the honors algebra 2 problem set, but I'm going to break it into two parts. And the first part is virtually the same as the algebra 2 problem set. So this part is going to act as a solution set for all the algebra 2 classes, honors class and the other classes also. So what this one has to do with is choosing the graph of the parabola, directrix, and focus corresponding to the equation below. There's going to be some situations where you're going to be given some quadratic equations and you've got to put them into the standard form equations for a parabola so you can figure out what h and k and p are and then pick the appropriate graphs. Okay, so on this one, here's the equation that we're working with. Okay, so we can see that the variable that's being squared is the x variable. So this is going to be the one that we're going to fit to the form x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. Okay, so then we've got to complete the square for the x's. So we're gonna gather the x terms on the left side and all the other stuff we're gonna push to the right side. So we're gonna add 16y to both sides and add 92 to both sides to push those terms right. So then what do we end up getting? So the x terms are x squared plus 4x, and we're going to leave a space to add the correct number to those first two terms to create a perfect square for the x, a perfect square triangle. On the other side, if we add the 16y and the 92, that's what we get. Okay, so if we complete the square for the x's, half of 4 is 2, and so we can see that if we keep track here that h is -2, right? Because the number being subtracted from x is -2. Remember, the value of h is going to be the opposite of whatever that sign is. What do we have to add to both sides to make that happen? Well, we have to add half of b is 2. We have to add that squared. So we're going to add what we called in class the blue number, 4, to both sides. And that gives us, on the right side, 16y plus 92 plus 4 is plus 96. And so on the right side, I'm going to undistribute or factor out a 16. So what am I left with then? 16 times what is 16y? Well, 16 times y is 16y. 16 times what is 96? 16 times 6 is 96. And so we end up getting the equation x plus 2 squared equals 16 times y plus 6. Okay, if we compare that to standard form for the parabola, what we end up getting, then we see that h is 2, k is, oops, h is -2, sorry. K is -6, opposite of that sign, remember. And we can see that 4p is equal to 16. Well, if 4p equals 16, p equals 4. Remember, our shortcut is we'll just divide that number by 4 and find out what p is. So p equals 4. So h is -2, k is -6, p is 4. Let's go find that parabola. So what do we say? H is -2, k was, I already forgot. K was -6, p was 4. Okay, so we know that because the x's are being squared, this is going to be like the algebra 1 parabola y equals x squared, which opens vertically, right? So when the x is the variable that's being squared, it's a vertical parabola. When y is the variable that's being squared, it's a horizontal parabola. So let's see which one seems to fit here. So we want to have a vertical parabola with a vertex at the point -2, -6, and it's going to open upward with a value of p that's 4. Okay, so let's find that one. So -2, -6, vertical parabola. Okay, what's that? -2, -6. So that's the correct vertex, right? The coordinates of the vertex are -2, -6, but it's the wrong p. P needs to be 4, so the distance from the vertex to the focus needs to be 4, and in this case it's only 2, so it needs to be that far. So let's go find, keep going. That's it right there, isn't it? Can't quite get it perfect, but you get the idea. That's it. So we got the vertex at -2, -6, and the distance from the vertex to the focus is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the right one. So that's our choice. Got it. Okay. I'm not gonna do all these, I'll just do some of them. So let's try this guy. Okay, this time, all they're giving us is a parabola and a focus. Okay, that's fine. So if this is the equation, this time it looks like the y is the variable that's being squared. Okay, so we want to match this to the form y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. So we'll gather the y terms on the right, leave a space, and then we'll push all the other stuff to the right. So we'll add 4x to the right side, and subtract 28. So we end up with 4x minus 28 on the right. Okay, so what are we going to get here when we complete the square? Half of positive 12 is positive 6. 6 squared is 36. So I've got to add 36 to both sides. And we end up with 4x minus 28 plus 36 is plus 8. If I factor out a 4, we're left with what? If I undistribute the 4. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times what is 8? 2. Oops. So that's what we get on the right side. On the left side, y plus 6 squared. So what's that tell us? That tells us that h is -2, k is -6, and 4p is 4, so therefore p is 1, right? We just divide that by 4. So those are our values. We get the vertex has coordinates -2, -6, and p equals 1. So let's go find that one. And it's going to be, because y is the variable that's being squared, it's going to be a horizontal parabola. So we can summarize all that information. So we said the vertex is at -2, -6, isn't that right? Yep. And P equals 1, which means it's going to be a sideways parabola opening to the right. Okay? So let's find that one. How about that? No, that's not quite it. There it is. All right. -2, -6. So there's the vertex has coordinates -2, -6, and P, the distance starting at the vertex and going to the focus, is +1. So that's it. Okay, so this time they don't give us a directrix or a focus. Okay, x is the variable being squared, so this is going to fit the pattern, the general form. X minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. Let's collect the x terms on the left, and we'll subtract 8y and 64 from both sides. And we end up with x squared plus 8x space equals -8y minus 64. Okay, so complete the square for x. Half of b is 8 in this case, half of b is 4, and 4 squared is 16, so I add 16 to both sides. So on the right side, we just end up getting -8y. -64 plus 16 is minus 48. So then if we undistribute or factor out a -8, we're left with what? -8 times what is -48? -8 times +6. And so there's our final result. So what's that tell us? Tells us that h equals -4. This tells us that k is -6. And this tells us that p is -2. 4p equals -8, so p equals -2. So we've got the vertex at -4, -6, p equals -2. All right, so let's summarize that on here. So x is being squared, so it's a vertical parabola, but p is negative, so we should expect a downward opening parabola. And this time, this is actually a little bit easier this time, because they don't give us a focus or a directrix, we can't distinguish between two parabolas that have the same vertex but slightly different shapes, because they didn't give us on the graph either of those features. And so all we really have to do here, this is a little simpler. We're just finding the parabola with a vertex at -4, -6 that opens down, and there should only be one of those. That looks like it right there. -4, -6, and it opens down, so that's it.